Hello and welcome everybody to this unboxing and introduction video for Urban War Edition 1/Edition 3. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the invaders, the Koralon. Let's take a look.
And here we go, and we are going to start with the Phazon. The Phazon currently comes in 3 parts. The main body, 2 smaller blades, which will go here. And of course, the large blade and the phasing staff. The phasing staff is what creates the portals. And we are going to talk about these portals in a moment. So this is your command model for the Koralon starter. The mainstay of your army is here, the Brood Warriors. Let's take one of the shields off. This is your standard Brood Warrior. There are 4 in the starter set. I already had one, so I have 5. And you simply glue the shield on like so. On the Koralon body, for example, here. Then there is this guy, this guy, the same as him, and this guy. So as I said, I already have one, which I won in a tournament ages ago. And the last model in your starter set is the Larvan. The Larvan also has these 2 smaller blades that you have to put on here and here. And that is your Koralon strike team. And I will soon come back with the expansion.
Welcome everybody to this Urban War introduction video. And first off in this series of videos will be the alien race, the Koralon. The Koralon are invading the planet Iskandria, and the tripartite powers, the Junkers, the Viridians, the Vasa, and obviously the Syntha are responding to this attack in different ways. So let's go to the Koralon. And as you can see in the rulebook, the first page of the Koralon army list shows the 2 of the main items that you're going to play with: the Brood Warriors, the Larvan Assaults. And if you go to the next page, you will see the Phazon. So the Phazon is one of the most important models that you are going to play in your army, and we will see in a moment why that is the case. A brief word about Urban War. There will be an introduction video another day. Urban War is a relatively old game that is now in Edition 2, and Sebastian from seb-games has acquired the license from Scotia Grendel to move the game forward to Edition 3. And in order to do so, he said, well, let's go back to the roots, and that is why right now Edition 1, version 1 will be the rule set that will be the official or is the official rule set again. There are a couple of differences. If you are new to Urban War, you have 3 different kinds of orders that your models can execute, and more details in the introduction video. Now back to the Koralon strike teams. As the rules say, brute and hybrids are your mainstay for any strike team that you are going to deploy. So, and the rules to do so is to have in your strike team minimum 4 of the required models from the following list: Brute, Harpicon, Reapers, and Stingers. Now, the Brute you have already seen. Harpicons, Reapers, and Stingers are hybrids that we're going to look at in a moment. Then the standard rules apply. You can only have as many or fewer models of caliber 1 than you have at caliber 0, caliber denoting the experience level. The higher, the better. And this continues. You can't have more Cal 2 than Cal 1 and not more Cal 3 than Cal 2 models. If you do not select any command models, then you need to select a Brute Master as your commander if you have them in your list. Most people won't. And a hybrid can only be chosen if there are no models present that do not have the hybrid rule. And this is what your army lists are going to look like. You have the standard brute with an impressive assault 5, shooting 3, although they don't really shoot, strength 4, toughness 5, which makes them medium attackers and tough takers. They have 1 wound, a command of 4, a size of 2, they move 4 inches, and can be selected in caliber 0 and 1 for the respective points. And important for the brute is that number 1, they are fast and they are camouflaged, which gives you a massive advantage over the standard troops of other armies that do not have these kind of special rules. You can even add stealth, which in more open battlefields is definitely an advantage for you. Now, brute also have a more resilient version, shall we say, which essentially has the same stat line, but comes in caliber 1 or 2 and has also the special rules of high morale +1, which will help you pass shock and panic tests. Once you go a bit larger in the Koralon species, you have the Larvan, which is essentially a larger brute warrior with 2 coralline blades, and compared with the brute leader that is also 2 coralline blades, it does not have the high morale rule, it does not have the fast rule, but it has the strike first rule. It does not have the option to add stealth, so it is a little bit more difficult or a little bit easier to kill, a little bit more difficult to survive in a more open battlefield, but it has a higher strength and a higher toughness value and comes in caliber 1 and 2. So the Larvan is your prime assault unit in the starter set, which comes with 4 brute and 1 of the Larvans. Larvans also have a leader model, which comes in caliber 2 or 3, and also has the high morale special rules. Now I'm going to jump over Brute Master and a couple of other models and go to the command section, and here is what we want to look at: the Phazon. The Phazon is also in the starter strike team. So you have 4 brood, 1 larvan, and 1 phazon. Now I said the phazon is not only your standard command model that everybody is going to include. The reason why you want to do that is this special rule, create warp portal. So warp portals is something unique for the Koralon. What happens when you use the warp portal is essentially you can warp your army from one end of the battlefield to the other. And the way this works is that you select any Koralon model that you have as a focus model. You create the portal with an action of the phazon, and depending on what kind of model you select as a focus and how far away it is, you create the warp portals that allow your army to move across the battlefield. So standard strategy for the Koralon is to have a focus model as close to the opponent as possible and then send your army through. So yes, you can charge through the warp portal on one end, exit on the other, and complete your charge to the opponent model, which makes your army very, very fast and a great danger to every single army that is not as good in close combat as you are. Now, speaking of that and going back to the start, you will include other models depending on what kind of advanced style you want to play. So, for example, the Broodmaster is also a very good close combat model and can even get a neutron staff that you can use to shoot at the enemy. And you can see the difference is 40 points. So you can also add a heavy armor component to that model. Then you have hybrids. Those were pure Koralon, and hybrids are when Koralon infect a humanoid model or a humanoid on the planet Iskandria. These humanoids transform into all sorts of hybrids. For example, into the Reaper, which is a standard shock troop. The Stinger is basically the same thing, but is a bit more shooty. You have jump troops, the Harpicons. You have the Hydra, which is the prime model for people in Edition 1 to use as a focus, although using hybrids is more difficult. In the way that the Hydra deploys with additional focus vents, where it can appear very close to your opponent, using that as a focus, on one hand, yes, declares, well, the Hydra is currently in that vent, in that surface vent, but it also allows you to use it as a focus and basically move your army right in front of your opponent. So another hybrid model to complete the Koralon army as it is being released over the next couple of months is the Breeder. The Breeder, as the name says, breeds skull swarms, and when one of your skull swarms comes into base contact with a model of the opponent, they are destroyed and your opponent needs to conduct a shock check with a -2 penalty. So it's the prime way to immobilize your opponent, especially when they have really good close combat troops such as the Viridians have the Shock Marine. And that is the standard Koralon army done, and we can look at the command models. So the command models in the base version of edition 1 was the Phazon and two hybrids, namely Divi and Shiva. So Shiva is a jump trooper, and it is essentially a hardcore Harpicon, and Devi is another, shock trooper, and it is assumed that she was something like a shock marine in her previous life. Now, this is already the armory. In the Claw Team Actions expansions, you will have two more models that are basically the heavies for your army. But for now, these will be the troops that invade Iskandria and attempt to take over the planet. So thank you so much for the continued support. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and comment for the algorithm, and I will see you on the next one.